Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, thank you for bringing your lack of work ethic to my attention. Turning one man's week into another man's hour and a half. New account and login are the same thing, right? In which our hero saves the day because he thought to take a backup. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Thank you for bringing your lack of work ethic to my attention. Disclaimer: first post will possibly screw up formatting. Also, not paid to do tech support, as the background will explain. Background: I'm a biology professor at a small college. Due to my overall technological competence, I have a fair bit of involvement with the technology we use to teach. The main system is the LMS, Learning Management System. An LMS is the system that a professor can log in to put up assignments and post grades, and a student can log into to do assignments and see grades. We have one staff person who oversees the LMS, but sometimes when she's swamped she tells people to ask me nicely if I can help them. Because the technologically impaired don't look at the system until the first time they need to pull a grade report, this means that right around midterms people come by to ask me questions. There are two characters in this tale. I will be starring as myself. The other is a tall, thin man with a permanent skull etched into his face. If you're imagining someone who is a set of plastic fangs away from being cast as a professor in a school of vampires, you're imagining him correctly. We'll call him Dr. Vampire, because he's exactly the sort of person to dissolve into a howling cloud of bats if you don't call him doctor. Our tale begins. It's a few days before midterm grades are due, several years ago, back when it was safe to let people in my office, and I already know that Dr. Vampire needs help. See, the LMS manager has a software booking system, and a big sign on her door that basically says, "If this door is closed, I'm in a meeting. To schedule time with me, please send an email here, or use this link here, or scan this QR code and follow this link." So Dr. Vampire has been writing notes, physical notes, saying, "I need help," along with a phone number, and sliding them under her door. He has now done this about 3 times, never yet realizing that he needs to use a dreaded computer to even schedule computer help. A shadow darkens my doorway. "Hey Dr. Vampire," I say, "I hear you have an LMS issue?" Dr. Vampire: "Yes, it's telling me that all of the students are failing, but I know they aren't. This indicates that the grade weighting is wrong. Our syllabi weight items by category, which happens to be the easiest way to weight things in the LMS. You make categories, assign the correct weights to the categories, and then place all graded items inside the correct category. There are basically 2 mistakes people make: they put the weights in wrong, you'd be amazed at how often this amounts to basic math mistakes, or they place something in the wrong category / no category at all." Okay, sounds like a serious problem, I say, which is true in the sense that failing every student would be bad, but not in the sense that it's hard to fix. Why don't you come over here and log into the LMS as yourself and I can take a look? Cue confusion about which computer, because I have 2 monitors, but heaven forbid that anyone understand the difference between a computer and a monitor. I indicate that he's supposed to log into the computer that already has the LMS login page open for him. It rapidly becomes clear that we are not dealing with a simple misplaced / misweighted item. Every student has a course grade of 0, as if their grades never registered at all, but I can also see grades for assignments. Dr. Vampire is agitated. "See, this person right here got a 100% on the midterm exam. But it says he has a 0 in the course." We are both looking at the same screen. There's an enormous, glaring error, which should be obvious to anyone who can read, let alone at a level sufficient to earn a PhD. I give him a gentle hint: "Which midterm?" "Dr. Vampire, there's only one midterm. Why would I have 2 midterms?" "Me, no. This midterm? I indicate a grade column called midterm, or this midterm? I indicate a second column called midterm." Dr. Vampire, but I only gave one midterm exam. Why are there two grades? At this point I collapsed the gradebook so we can only see the column headers. As was already obvious to anyone who had looked at the gradebook for 2 seconds, every single column is present twice. Since we can still see column averages, I can also see that one set of items has a weight and an average grade of 0, all blank grades. The other set has a weight of 0 and average grades that actually make sense. There's your problem, I say. You have 2 of everything, and the one weighted 0 doesn't count. But it's the one you graded. Dr. Vampire, how do we fix it? I explain that we can just move the weights to the graded columns and delete the non-graded columns. This involves several explanations like, well, this column has a weight of 0 and is called midterm, so I will assign it a weight of 0.15, just like this column called midterm, and delete will be the trashcan icon. No, wait, delete the column with no grades in it. The grades are now reasonable. Well, they are really high, especially since I recognize some of these students as notoriously lazy individuals. But the course grade now looks like it was reasonably derived from the assignment grades. Dr. Vampire is still upset. Will this happen next semester? All I did was have them import my class from last semester. It must have been that girl, red, woman in her mid-30s who has a PhD over there. Vaguely gestures towards the LMS manager's office. Me, well, let me look at something. I click back to the course page and look to see what material he imported. He starts gesturing at the material and explaining several things that he does that are well beyond any previous technical aptitude he has demonstrated. And then, suddenly, I understand. The double gradebook, the high grades, Dr. Vampire's apparently ability to adjust due dates inside assignments despite being unable to read his own gradebook, it all makes sense. Since Dr. Vampire can be banished by holding 2 USB drives at right angles and shouting, all of your paperwork will be electronic next semester, the LMS manager has put him on her secret lost causes list. This means that at the beginning of the semester she just quietly sets up his gradebook with the same weights as last semester, perhaps with an email to his department chair to check if he's changed any grade weights. So at the beginning of the semester Dr. Vampire had a fully weighted gradebook. And then he imported the whole course from last semester, including the grade categories. However, this didn't replace the gradebook, it just added the imported items, with a weight of 0 so as not to interfere with anything already set up. So he now had the duplicate items, one weighted and one not. But it's not just the course structure that he's using. No, he's been using the exact same course, year after year. At some point he, probably with help, created a series of multiple-choice assignments in the LMS which he used to replace every homework, quiz, and exam. This is really easy for him, since the multiple-choice questions just grade themselves. He doesn't even need to look at student work anymore. But it's also obvious why nearly everyone has an A since the LMS has no anti-cheating mechanisms. I need you to imagine being assigned a midterm exam that you can take in your dorm room, with your friends from class, with the book open and the internet up, where all the answers are simple facts. And the questions are the same as last semester. We market ourselves as a small school with engaged teachers, not like those big state schools where the teachers are really researchers with a side of teaching. And Dr. Vampire has been taking a hard pass on about 50% of his work for at least 5 years. Me, okay, yeah, it's an import problem. Let me take some screenshots to document. Dr. Vampire, knowing that I'm on a college technology committee, well, I hope you'll complain to someone who can do something. Me, certainly. I will definitely be passing along a complaint to someone in charge. Turning one man's week into another man's hour and a half. Obligatory happened a couple of years ago, not in IT, but into computers, and this is a bit of a long one. So, I started a new job, having just left one I'd spent automating as much as I could, and moved into a team with some great guys and a really supportive manager, SM. My colleagues, mostly, knew their stuff, were all up for automating things and making things easier, and were helpful in teaching me stuff I didn't know. I say mostly, because I was taking over from someone I will refer to as Fashion Boy, FB. FB wasn't too bad to begin with, a little odd in his own way, but just kinda plodded along with the job. He taught me the basics, and I got to work. This is when the warnings started to come in, people telling me how awkward he was and to be careful. He was using basic macros that other people had written in Excel, and I started digging into them a bit and learning how they worked. Digging through the VBA scripts, I started trying to clean up a lot of the code, trying to speed it up a little bit more than anything while still doing the new job. When recording macros in Excel, there tends to be a lot of scrolling that goes on that can just be deleted, so it was just getting rid of a lot of this really alongside some other inefficiencies I was tidying. All in all, I probably cut it down to about 2/3s of the time, maybe half. They were really messy. Now he'd only got about 4 macros or so, but I could see there was a lot more he'd previously been doing himself that could be cut down to a macro. A lot of exporting data from the system, cutting and pasting columns, sorting data, deleting things, etc. When I could just run a macro to sort it all, delete anything I didn't need, copy it, and then all I had to do was paste it into the right place. I started recording some macros of my own and tweaking them afterwards to make them more efficient. It was at this point FB asked me what I was doing, VBA script clearly not being part of the job description. After a little hesitancy, I figured what the hell, he was using macros anyway, so who cared? I explained what I was doing, and then the change began. Exactly what people had warned me about was revealed. He absolutely flipped, saying I didn't know what I was doing, that I was messing with company processes, and was going to break them, that he'd put these macros together for me, he hadn't put them together, and certainly not for me, and I was ruining them. In comes SM to save the day, pulls FB into a meeting room and basically tells him where to get off, didn't even need to ask my side of the story. FB runs out crying, SM comes over to me and tells me to carry on, with the biggest grin on his face. He knew exactly what he was dealing with. Super weird day, but FB kinda stayed away from me after that, only talking to me when he really needed to. What a blessing! After a little while I found I'd be using these macros multiple times throughout the week, but for different tasks. I spoke to IT to switch a couple of reports around so I could use the same macro for multiple different reports, and it ended up saving me tons of time. So I'd ask for more work, and ended up taking more of FB's stuff off him. Again, more things I'd automate with macros. After this, SM found another job elsewhere, and before he left said this team is far too big for the work there is, do what you can with it and keep your head down. Oh, and how right he was. I ended up reporting to his old boss, OB, for a bit, then moved to a new manager, NM, within the team. They just left me to do my thing, and had no complaints, as long as everything was getting done. I ended up with about 10 macros that would do basically a day's work in 15 minutes. Every single day. Where FB was taking hours, my week was lasting all of about an hour and a half, split across the week. The frustrating thing was that he had the tools, he was even using them, but still didn't do more with them. I'd go to OB and NM, but neither had the enthusiasm SM ever had to listen to me when I was trying to get more work from them. Oh, you've got enough to do, you've taken all of FB's work after all, and despite my protests, they wouldn't give me more work, which was just insane. I asked other people if I could help them, but they got protective of what, seemingly little, work they had and wouldn't accept help. Unsurprisingly, once the management changed, things started to go downhill. I asked if I could work at home, unofficially so that I could do other stuff, but the answer was a firm no. I was just bored, it was like prison. I'd automated myself out of a job, and the management didn't even care. So, I just started seeing how far I could push it. I'd go for walks for hours, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, or music. I'd book myself meeting rooms and play Minesweeper. I'd set myself small challenges like, can I go for a day without saying a word to anyone? This day included multiple meetings with people and data I had to run through. I still succeeded. As much as I enjoyed my free time, I needed things to do. So, I used the time to get another job. I wrote up the details of what I did step by step, handed in my notice, distributed it out to the team, and left for something new, and a 5-figure pay rise. OB couldn't understand why I wanted to leave. Last I heard, they just employed 3 new people to join the team. New account and login are the same thing, right? My job role was recently made redundant, and I was given a position in a different government department doing something very different that, amongst other things, involves offering basic tech support for an online account system. I'm learning a lot, including not to trust users when they tell me they've followed my instructions. The people that access these accounts own their own company or work within the finance or HR departments of a company, so I assumed that basic computer literacy and language comprehension skills would be common. Never assume. There's 2 types of accounts you can have: user accounts and company accounts. You need a user account in order to log into a company account. I had a 55-minute call today with a genuinely lovely, yet flustered lady who would not listen to what I was saying. It went like this, paraphrased from memory and edited to be non-specific. Lady, I'm trying to add my email to the account and I can't get in. Me, are you getting any error messages? Lady, there's an error. Me, no problem, what does the error say exactly? Lady, it says my email is already in use. Me, that sounds you already have a user account with that email, I can check that for you. Lady, I don't have one. My husband has one, he's the one who logs into the account usually, but he's not here. Me, are you using your husband's email address or your own? Lady, we have the same email address. Me, okay, so that's the problem, you can't have 2 users with the same email address. If you give me another email address, I can add that to the company account for you, after passing a security check. You then just need to log in to accept the account invitation. Lady, it's mclulis@helpme.com. Me, great, so I've sent an account invitation to mclulis@helpme.com. Can you please refresh your email client for me and click the link in the email? Lady, okay, it's asking me to create a user account. Me, don't do that, you have an account, I've just authorized it on the system for you, you just need to log in to accept. Click the login button and type in your email address, and it will let you choose a password. Lady, it says no invitations exist. Me, that's strange because the link in the email is a direct link to invite you to the company account. Can you click the link again for me and press login? Lady, it still says no invitations exist. Me, are you sure you're clicking login and not create new user account? I was getting rather suspicious. Lady, should I create a new account? Me, please don't. No, you just need to log into the account linked to the email address you've just given me. That's the email I've linked to your company account. Lady, there's no login button. Me, so when you click the link in the email I sent you, it should bring you to a page. Don't click anything except the link, and let me know when you're on that page. Lady, there's no invitations. I don't understand why it's doing this. Me, did you click anything other than the link I gave you? Lady, no, it just keeps saying no invitation. Me, it wouldn't say that unless you click login or new account. Let's try again, open the email for me. Lady, it's open, I can hear clicking. Me, don't click anything yet. Read my email to me. Lady, to authorize your account you must log in using the link below. Me, great, the link should be blue. Just click it once for me and nothing else. Do you see the words log in? Lady, I hear clicking, it says no invitation. The email doesn't work. Can you send me a new one? Me, absolutely, you should have that now. Please click the link and nothing else. We repeated the process with the new link 3 more times. No success. Me, right, this isn't working, so we'll try once more, and then I'll have to send this issue to the department's specialist tech team to investigate since your email won't connect to the account. Please just press the login button, nothing else. Lady, I clicked it and it worked. Shall I create a password? Me, yes, please do that. Lady, shall I use the same password as my husband? Me, I wouldn't recommend that, another password would be better. Lady, it says you have one invitation, should I accept? Me, yes. That's perfect, please accept. Lady, I wonder why it worked that time and not the others, funny isn't it? Me, maybe it heard me threaten it with the tech team. Lady, ha. Me, so is that all okay for you? Lady, yes, so now I'm in the account, can you help me insert rather complex financial nonsense? Me, of course, no problem. And on the call continued. Still bumpy, but much smoother. I think she almost trusted my instructions by the end. If you made it this far, you deserve a drink. I definitely needed one. In which our hero saves the day, because he thought to take a backup. Newish user, first post. Enjoy. Cast. $departing owner $new owner my boss, who used to be reasonably proficient in $desktop DB development and support, but is more into management these days. Certifiable me, certified in multiple versions of $desktop DB software platform. Situation. Company takeover. Departing owner leaving to spend more time with his money family, new owner with ideas to take the business places. Desktop DB database system to run the company's operations. Developed in his spare time by departing owner. He knows his business but has shaky desktop DB skills. Very old, very unsupported version of desktop DB server, running on very old, very unsupported version of Windows Server, running on very old, very unsupported Dell server on site. What could possibly go wrong? It starts with a call one sunny late November Tuesday to my boss from prospective new owner. He's in the process of taking over company that runs on a desktop DB database system. The system was built and developed by departing owner, and new owner knows his limitations, especially in that he knows diddly squat about desktop DB software. My boss sends me to company, and I give the system a brief once-over in the presence of departing owner. Meanwhile, my boss discusses future plans with new owner, including migration from dodgy on-site out-of-support server to a cloud-hosted arrangement. Over the ensuing week and a bit, the deal is gradually finalized. After much to ing and fro ing, I get word that the Friday afternoon is it. So I rock up, get the master passwords from departing owner, and change them all. This takes a while, since this is a desktop DB system that started life many years before when it had a one-table per file architecture. That means that this system has 25 plus separate files, each requiring a password change. Tedious and time-consuming, but straightforward enough. Finally, I'm done with the desktop DB security changes. I double-check that all other system-related credentials supplied by departing owner are valid, trigger a backup of desktop DB system, and copy completed backup to the Office NAS. After a relaxing weekend, I'm about to leave for the office when I get a panicked call from new owner. Sometime over the weekend, the very old, very unsupported server has dropped its bundle. It will not start up. It has power and fans but it cannot boot. If you're thinking to yourself, aren't you glad you copied that backup to the NAS on Friday, go straight to the top of the class. So I jump in my car and head for the company offices. While on the way, my boss calls to get a situation update. The gist of the discussion is that it's time to fast forward the migration to the cloud-hosted environment. He heads off to dig through his archives to see if he can find an old license key for the correct version of desktop DB server. Turns out we used to provide commercial hosting for that version until about 5 years before, so we have a valid and now unused license available. On arrival, I have a bit of a fiddle with the server, but it's definitely beyond my skill set to deal with. After a brief discussion with New owner, he agrees on the cloud migration plan, so I set to work. After about an hour, I have a new cloud VM running and updated, with the correct version of Desktop DB server installed and happy, and we're ready to load up the data. This is where it gets ugly. The Office of Company has an extremely crap ADSL internet connection that gets 1 megabit per second uploads if you ask really nicely. The total database volume is 20 plus GB. This is going to take a while. There was a happy ending. We worked out that New owner had a good 4G cellular data signal, so I hotspotted onto his phone to upload the data. Some time later, all is ready, and the users log on. Everything works, and lo, there is much rejoicing. Well, some rejoicing. Performance sucks because A. See above crap ADSL and B. Various inefficient aspects of system design that go unnoticed on a LAN but become very noticed when there's a more latency and a slower connection.